Marina. Well, I first wanted to thank everybody for coming out. My daughter Ashley really wanted to be here today, but she is homeschooling since she took the kids out of public school, so she couldn't be here today, but she wanted me to tell you guys thank you. My son gave his life for this country 3 years ago. And he died not just for our freedom, but for peace and for love. When my son came home from leave from Afghanistan, he would always tell me this story. He said, you know, Mom, every time I go out in my Buffalo to leave the fob, it's like my body won't go, because I know when I leave I'm going to be shot at. And he said, I have to sit there in my Buffalo for a minute and I have to remind myself why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my country, for my family, for my neighbors, so that they can live in peace, so that they can be happy and have love.
God bless you, hon.
This country, it's not the country that my son died for. We have not been worthy of his sacrifice. It's really easy for us to say being a homosexual is a sin. And as a Christian, I can't take that part out of the Bible. But I can hear all the other passages that we somehow overlook, where God said, most important of all is love. He told us not to judge, lest we be judged, and love your neighbors as yourself. Every day I wake up and my first thought is, what can I do today to honor the sacrifice that my son made, and so many veterans that gave their life and live with the scars daily. And I think the way to honor their life is to be happy, is to exercise our rights and to love our freedom and not give it up so easily.
Yeah. Well said.
Somehow this issue that we're talking about right now has gotten mixed up with people saying that we are anti-gay and lesbian, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Amen.
My brother has been with his boyfriend for 20 years and I love them both. My best friend Erlen in Norway is a proud gay man, a man that I would drop everything for if he needed me. This issue is about whether it's okay to be gay or lesbian. What two consenting adults do is not my business. But when my granddaughter is grieving the death of her father and trying to deal with that, and all of a sudden she says she wants to join the army and be a man, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to connect those dots. My granddaughter was at a crossroads in her life where she is grieving and doesn't know how to deal with it at 10 years old. And she went to the counselor and the teacher at this school district, and they encouraged her in that. They supported her and told her that was okay, instead of giving her any other avenues to go down. Hey, you're 10 years old, your brain isn't developed enough. Let's not make life-changing decisions at this point. Let's deal with the real grief, the real issue.
Yeah.
We had a counselor here that gave my 10-year-old granddaughter an 800 number to a transsexual hotline without informing her parent or me about it. I heard all of this from my granddaughter and called the school counselor and said, what were you thinking? Why would you? Now my granddaughter thinks, well, it's supported, it's okay, what I'm thinking is okay. And this is just a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid that she's put over dealing with the hurt that she's feeling. And they supported her in it without our knowledge, and that's what this is about today, is parental rights, that we need to be informed, that they need to tell us when something like this is happening and give good counsel to our children. I told the counselor when I talked to her, she said, well, I can't support one way or the other. And I said, but you did. You did, because you didn't give her any other options. You didn't talk to the parents. You said nothing else except what you're feeling is okay. So that's why we're here today, and I just want to thank you guys so much for all your support, supporting us and our family.
So what I would like to suggest to anybody that has children, that you write all this down and say, You are not allowed to talk to my children in counseling about anything other than academics without my permission. Put it in writing and make sure that they put it in your child's folder. That way they probably won't sign that, but in the event that they do something like this, you have some recourse. And then also, I think in November, the school boards, there's a lot of seats open. You should consider running for school board. That way we have people on the school board who don't advocate for any of this and actually vote against it. And we have to get involved, all of us. No longer can we sit back and say, somebody else is going to do it and just sit home on our couches and complaining. We're watching the downfall of our society in so many ways. So we need to all come up and get involved. One of the things that happened with Janice's granddaughter is that from what I understand, we're still working on all of this, but the counselor, the teacher, the principal, and the school attorney made the decision. Apparently, if they don't use the other pronoun, they don't have to tell the parents. So they said, okay, well, let's not use the pronoun so we don't have to tell the parents. What kind of thinking is that? They should not even be allowed to think like that. Any kind of indication that the child has any struggles like this child did, they should be informed. The parents should be informed, and the parents should make a decision in the family on how they're going to deal with their child's problems. And this little girl lost her dad when she was 4 years old. Of course there's going to be issues, but we need to be behind these families and not be putting them down a pit that's going to take them into a psychological warfare on themselves and create suicidal thoughts and all that. That's not the way we do that. We have lost our way as a society if we think this is okay. So we all have to stand together and we have to say to the school, you're not going to counsel our children into alternative lifestyles. There are other ways to handle children that are having struggles. This is not it. So please, do everything you can, write whatever you can, tell the school, go to your school and say, what are you telling my children? And make sure you have it in writing that you want them to not talk to your children about any of this alternative stuff. And then also get on school boards. There's a lot of local boards here that need people who care. There's a highway district, there's a library board. We want conservatives on the library board. We all know about the drag queens over in Spokane, okay? If right now we only have one conservative on the library board. If the drag queens come this way and want to come in, what do you think is going to happen? The board is going to allow it. We, of course, will come out again, but they will allow that. So we need people like us to say, no, we don't want that in our community. We want to do things the way we want to. We don't want that alternative. For adults, I don't care what adults do, okay? There's clubs, there's all kinds of weird stuff for all kinds of alternative lifestyle. They could go there. They should not be dragging our children into this kind of lifestyle. So that's what I have to say. Is there anybody else that wants to talk? Do you have any?
She was 7 when he passed away, not 4.
So, so the grandchild was 7 when the dad passed away. And so I want to tell you the good part of this story now. The family, Janice's daughter, has met a really wonderful man. He's got a few children, and they're going to get married. And he's a really good man. So I see them having a really nice girlfriend. But they have to deal with this. Ashley is now, she would be here today, but this is her first day homeschooling, and she didn't want to miss it because the children have been out of school since this happened. She took both children out of the elementary school. So today is their first day homeschooling. She didn't want to miss it, of course. So she couldn't be here to tell you about her situation personally. Okay? So does anybody else want to tell their story?